When I started making my videos, I put a lot of time into them, but at the same time, they weren't as calculated as what I do now on my main channel. I was and still am, despite not showing it often, horribly depressed. I like to think that I've improved and am better now, but the all-consuming dark spot in my head in college was something I could barely escape. All I knew was some of the media I watched, played, and read made me cry. Touched some part in me that made me feel like reaching out, and yet also felt like no one was ever there for me or able to save me. Part of me didn't want to be saved. It's pitiful, after all. Not accepting the help wasn't some pride. It was just another thing that I wanted to avoid in order to not feel more guilt and blame for myself for being a perpetual weight dragging down the lives of those around me. The videos I wrote expressed this angst, sometimes to miraculous clarity and sometimes to a half-hearted, cringy artfulness. Direction, stability, truth. It's all so hard to make out and grasp, and yet people still actively muddy and rip the waves in their own denial, making it hard to properly sail your way to any realistic answer. My table had 4 legs at some point. One for religion, one for my friends, one for family, and one for lovers, at least in my mind. When I lost my faith in high school, I was worried about how I would keep my stability. When my friends turned on and abandoned me, I felt unconfident putting too much weight into that leg either. When my parents got divorced, my conception of family seemed to distort. And when I was assaulted, finding love and comfort in someone without having panic attacks was nearly impossible. I've definitely recovered and gained new strength since then, but after that divorce, the weight of college felt too much and I dropped out. 2019 was spent mostly by myself, sharing a house with my mother. Barely scraping by, I played and got addicted to Persona 5 in May, then bought a PS2 Slim and played Persona 4 and Persona 3 in fall. I streamed Persona 5 April of 2020 and streamed Persona 4 Golden as it was released later that year. Then, Persona 3 I streamed again for other people to experience with me. Recently, I replayed in 2021 Persona 4 Golden again on stream. Now I've rushed through and tried to grab footage for making proper videos on the series in folders, revisiting and reattaching, revisiting and reacquainting, because whenever I come back, it's still there. When I played Persona 4, I enjoyed it. I felt too embarrassed to mention it initially publicly, but I actually got bored and dropped it at Magatsu Inaba. Then I played all of Persona 3 and went back to 5, leaving my original copy of Persona 4 unfinished. That's just how it is, though, isn't it? Persona 4 Golden doesn't give you a new true ending. It just minorly alters dialogue, adds a couple social links, and a dungeon. Aside from a cutscene at the end, if you ignore Adachi and Marie in Persona 4 Golden entirely, you will forget about her entirely and get the same ending as original Persona 4. If you do both of them and don't choose the bad accomplice ending, you still fight the same final boss for the true end. In other words, in a way, it can be assumed that Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden are the same game, not just that one has more content. It's just that with original Persona 4, you're playing a route of the game where you forgot about Marie entirely. And of course, this is your recollection. You won't remember meeting her since you never formed the bond and left her behind to disappear in the Hollow Forest. At least that's my idea for how and why Marie was incorporated the way she was when Golden added extra content. Despite the Hollow Forest's gameplay being obnoxious, the song and ripped-up pieces of Inaba decorating the blankness, the song very much invites a feeling of redo, as you, with distorted memory, pass over all of the pieces, placing the memories of the different areas and levels of the game, but you can't let her hide in those memories, those positives and negatives. She has to come out and come forward. It's not her time to die. She can't cling so close to the memories that she walls herself off from new ones. You rip her out and save the discarded dwarf of the fog that the rest of herself despises. and she is the only part of Izanami left to remain then when the game finishes. Still, if you forget her, Izanami doesn't even bother to mention her when you seek the true ending of the game. She doesn't in the original Persona 4 either. It's inconsequential to the fog. In a way, Marie's dungeon, while with exception of Marie herself being entirely inconsequential to the story and lives of Inaba, feels more final and conclusive in a classic sense than the actual ending. The music has that somber nostalgia, the moments of intensity and calm. The final dungeon, though, is not just somber, but ethereal. The gentle stumbling and hard landing keys don't have a sense of epic proportions, or aim to make you tug at some empathy for Izanami's actions. It doesn't aim to imbue you with guilt or any particular sadness aside from the stakes of the situation. And yet, the song does fit it. It gives a feeling, a simple feeling, of this is the last one. But after the friends run along toward your train and you look at the photo, when they remind you that they'll always be there if you come back and if you need them, it feels like they're speaking to the player. When I relaunch and replay through the game again and again, it lets me replay fleeting time as it will never be back. Growing up in a small Midwestern town, knowing the hearts and passions of the local business workers, seeing my family over time working small odd jobs, fixing flowers in the fall, as Walmart made other groceries struggle to survive, and Juness affects Inaba. Going to parks and creeks since there was nothing else to do, all these people most of the time were scraping by, doing the best they could. There was a huge drug epidemic in my town, and almost everyone I knew growing up were poor, at least by the standards of elsewhere in my own country. It wasn't glamorous, but I loved to see that dinge and dirt, and I wish I could, with full eyes and heart, experience it again because I love that place. I love those people. I can't, though. There's not a single person in the entire school system back home that I know the name of. There's not a single friendship that I think is unharmed or has remained firm and consistent with age. It's gone. As I lost stability and came home in 2019, I found that stability with these games, and with devoting myself further to YouTube and Twitch as a job. Now, when I see those things fail in front of me, I feel a terror I don't know how to escape from. A depression I thought I'd bribed off with rationalizations in the past whenever things started to get better. And so while driving myself a bit nuts to obtain clips for future sets of videos I'm planning to make, I couldn't help but think of a song when I started making videos in college. And hearing the lyrics, "When I come back, you'll still be here. When I come back, you'll still be here." And I don't know when I'm supposed to leave, and when there's still more memories to make.
Come, dear children, call no more. He has only lyrics now. When I come back, you'll still be here. When I come back, you'll still be here. When I come back, you'll still be here. When you come back, I'll still